Rack and roll, shadows of Centris. The Sonier had offered each of them a data chit and had guided them to a portal door. Their communicators tell them that they have shifted hundreds upon hundreds of kilometers distance, 420 horizontally and 69 up. This leads into one of the orbiting ships, the Sonier explains walking in. It's far from danger and it's a rented area in a public vessel. You can easily call for transportation to almost anywhere on a Centris spire for cheap, and that's if your people don't simply send a shuttle to pick you up. Meaning we can get out and away from our enemies with a lot of room to spare, Koa says as he steps through and covers a silent slipping in after him. There are thousands of portals that allow fast movement all over the place. A lot of them are guarded or at least watched, she explains. Must make all kinds of security a living hell. Any 2-bit criminal could effectively move supplies without anyone knowing where it is. Oh, these big things give out a very distinct signal, one that can even be disrupted. Getting caught in the middle while it gets disrupted is deadly. Portal cut? Reggie asks, at the threshold of the doorway in the air. Not an inaccurate way of describing it. Over a planetary distance, they're generally stable, but much further than stable orbit and the naturally shifting flows of Axiom provide far too much interference, the Sonier explains, and Reggie glances at the device around him before stepping through very quickly. Oh, relax, Reggie. From what I can sense, this Axiom construct would stay stable for at least a few seconds. Time enough to get through even if it was collapsing. Or at least time enough to tell something was off and back away, Amadi says, and Reggie looks it up and down. Not sure I like pure Axiom tech. It's very open to manipulation. Hacking a computer is one thing, but a powerful adept can hack people, technology, and physics itself, Reggie remarks, his hand going to the emitters on his hips. Both of them are working together and connected by a belt to synchronize a powerful defense against both plasma and lasers. Is that why you tried to recreate your energy shield to work without Axiom? Yes, but it's beyond me. There's a lot more I need to learn, Reggie admits, not saying that he had actually stumbled onto something that the boys in the lab had been able to recreate. Something that had them very interested. A possible magnetic force field. It ate energy like nothing else and reduced capacitors and connectors into charred husks after a short time, but it was powerful stuff that needed no Axiom. For the whole 10 seconds it worked before burning out. So, is there any way to convince you to come with us to the Dauntless? We have some people that would love to talk to you, Koa states, and she shakes her head. Oh no. There's a lot more that must be done. Besides, the incident where all that data was stripped out of your computers tells me that your own security needs a lot of help. Exposing myself to help you will just hurt my ability to help at all, the Sonier explains. We have found some ways around it. Not as many as you'd like. It was very smart to disconnect the more sensitive parts of your network. But while it has protected the extent of your intelligence-gathering decisions, it has led a large and obvious hole in things that many people can easily trace to figure out what's in there. The absence of something leaves just as much of an impression as its presence. For example, the silent are an interesting experiment, likely to be rather effective but not universally useful, she explains, and there's a growling side from Madame Stepanova. Oh, so what do you know about them? Reggie challenges. The more troublesome portions of the observation party and several volunteers have undergone a rejuvenating coma to reduce their age and size to the pubescent, if not prepubescent stage. A trick often used by actors to play the part of children or youth in shows or movies. However, in this case, it's to make better sneaks and spies that can easily disguise themselves as an innocent child at play. A good way to get around most security, but the more seasoned and skillful of the galaxy will not be so easily fooled. Koa says as the damning silence from Madame Stepanova is almost ringing over the communication lines. So what suggestions do you have? I'm afraid the galaxy is filled with far more ways to rip out information and invade privacy than ways to defend yourself from it. The more you try to protect your information, the more voraciously the curious and nosy will hunt it down. There is no way to protect anything from anything, but what you've done so far will keep out all but the most dedicated. Unfortunately, I've spent what your kind would consider entire lifetimes in the craft of knowledge retrieval and sorting. I've grown good enough to make reasoned guesses even without actively probing your organization. Ah, does this mean we have to refer to you as Elder? It seems rude when you look like... Well, that, Amadi asks before gesturing to the woman who giggles at the implications. How about a deal? You don't call me Elder and I won't call you child, even though I have great-grandchildren old enough to be your great-grandmothers. The Sonier says with a smile. You drive a hard bargain, lady, but I think we can handle that. Good. By the by, I expect that I just gave you enough information to actually get my legal identification out of that. Short of a genetic sample, you should have all you need to easily pin my identity, the Sonier says. Tell Miss Echo that she's correct in that regard, Madame Stepanova says in a thoughtful tone. Thank you for your faith in us, Miss Echo. Ah, good. You've narrowed things down to my specific family. That only leaves about 14,000 people to sift through. Tell Miss Juliet Echo that we're aware of that. We're aware of that, Juliet. By the way, I can't help but notice how similar to human names so many different non-humans' names are. Is that a quirk of language or something else? Koa asks, and she nods. It is. I'm not a linguist, but the general idea is that most races can hear along the same ranges and produce fairly similar sounds. This is the basis on which Galactic Basic has been formed. There are only so many sounds and so many combinations, and there is a general consensus as to what sounds nice. Juliet means one thing in your language. In at least 8 other languages, it has markedly different meanings. Tell her that Juliet means useful and is a feminization of Jovis, which was another name for a sky god, Sir Philip says into the comm network. That is interesting. It means desired in my mother's language, Juliet states before anyone can say anything. What? Did you think these were for show? She asks as her large ear flicks. All Sonier, from miniature to giant, from fruit to blood, we are all capable of echolocation. I've heard every part of your conversation. By the by, would the older voice be that dapper old gentleman I've seen on the broadcast now and again? I understand that you have a few grizzled veterans on your ship, but am unsure of the total numbers. I am, madam, and might I say what a relief it is to be speaking with someone who understands both discretion and class, Sir Philip asks, and she snorts in amusement before waving a hand in front of her face. Oh, don't you try to butter me up. It won't work, she says with a wave of her hand. Then she pauses and considers. Actually, do try to butter me up. I adore the compliments, but just bear in mind it won't work. I shall remember, madam, Sir Philip says into the comms and goes quiet. I appear to have scared him off. Ah, well, he is less than 100 years old, practically a child himself despite how horribly his physical form has withered with time, Juliet says to herself before shrugging. Come along, humans. Let's get you 3 to some public transportation and home safe. Your new armor is interesting, but a pulse laser would shatter the shield and open it up for plasma to melt it atop you. There's a slight strange bend to the local Axiom, and Juliet pauses before suddenly vanishing to reappear right above a nearby door, hanging onto the wall by her feet as she reaches down and taps the door. It slides open to, "Good afternoon, madam. I was wondering if you'd care for some tea and biscuits." Fucking how? Amadi demands. Cooperation is often the key to success, young man, Sir Philip says in a kindly tone that radiates smugness. I didn't realize you had a teleport specialist that's skilled on the Dauntless. Although I can't help but notice that the pin on your lapel is giving out a signal, no doubt to help you return home. Madam, Sir Philip says in a scandalized tone, it's rude to give away the secrets of others. For shame, shame. Would you still care for blueberry tea and a cranberry biscuit? They're all perfectly edible for a Sonier, I assure you. I need to strap that old gibrid into an interrogation chair and get him talking. Madame Stepanova mutters. Madame Stepanova, I assure you that my parents were very much wed at the time of my conception and birth. Sir Philip calls over to them. And he still has an earpiece because, why not, I should have stayed retired. Madame Stepanova grumps before going silent. Do you delight in tormenting her? Juliet asks him, even as she takes a cup from the tray he's holding up. The acts of Madame Stepanova have been very near to my heart, a bare inch or so off to be accurate, Sir Philip says, lightly poking his collarbone. Or at least the scar from the bullet wound is. She and I have history. Ah, but such things are merely the spice of life, is it not? It is indeed. Unfortunately, few others can find the humor in a situation where a person is forced to work with someone that previously had mortally wounded them and left them for dead. I want to compare scars, but alas, too many of hers are from me, and too many of mine are from her for things to be casual. Sir Philip notes. How much history do you both have? More than most rival nations. Things got rather personal for a time, Sir Philip says in a pleasant tone. I see. Still, things just got a fair bit more complicated with you here. 3 men in armor is one thing. 3 armored men and an older gentleman that's well known due to his appearing on public broadcast is another issue altogether, Juliet says, and Sir Philip nods. Well, madam, that's rather easily solved, Sir Philip says as she places down her now drained cup of tea on the platter. How so? She asks. This easily, he says, and the Axiom around him distorts before he vanishes. Juliet blinks for a moment before smiling. If you have a small army of men like him, then you humans may very well not need any help, Juliet says in a small amount of wonder. Unfortunately, he's a bit on the one-of-a-kind side at the moment, Koa says as he walks up to the doorway that Sir Philip was behind. It's an airlock that leads into the rest of the station. He was between the 2 bulkheads. The amount of precision and skill to pull that off says a lot about whatever member of the nerd squad he got to do that with, and even more about Sir Philip and his need to appear utterly on top of everything. Well, either way, I'm impressed, Juliet remarks before grinning. Come along, little humans. Time to get you home safe and sound. Thank you, ma'am, Koa says before grinning under his helmet. Also, thank you for not endlessly flirting with us. It's still so odd for women to throw themselves our way every second of the day. Throws a man off. Don't tempt me. I'm a widow and therefore on the market, she says, and Koa pauses. Didn't expect that, did you, little man? Can we cut the kissy eyes and head home? As the de facto grouch of this group, I say we get the hell out of here, Reggie asks. Reg, dude, Amadi says. In case you've forgotten, friendly Sonier and organization aside, we were still attacked by a bunch of fanatic lunatics that think humans are not only evil, but to be attacked on sight. So how about we get back to a place where we're certain taking off our helmets won't result in a sniper taking a snapshot at us? Reggie demands. He has a point, Juliet remarks. It's also maybe best for you to not be seen either. Sir Philip was here, which means our location is not only known but available. No doubt we have an extraction team coming for us as we speak, Reggie says. Yes, however, that does not mean that you should be rude or standoffish to an ally. We are so severely outnumbered that any and all friends are needed, Sir Philip says tartly. No, if someone needs their fee-fees protected every step of the way, then they won't be anything more than dead weight when needed, Reggie remarks tartly. Good, Madame Stepanova says. Good? While a unified vision is a powerful thing to have, it can lead an organization to be brittle and unstable. We need many perspectives to avoid toppling over upon our own hubris. She clarifies. Indeed, Sir Philip adds, you are going to stop that or I am breaking out the dental pliers. Madam, we're on duty. We can flirt in our off hours.